Felix Sharpe here for Alfred Fernandez. This is our third installment of the three-star series. You already saw quarterback and running back today. Three-star wide receivers that we like. Actually, not that I like. I need some help with this. I'm going to get some help right after the intro video. Substitute teacher, this is the official. David and Matt, it's the substitute teacher that you did not want. Appreciate you. I'm going to need your help today because you know good and well that I'm not going to be able to dive deep at all with these guys like you both are. I'm glad to be joining you. Honored to be joining you both. We're going to talk about wide receivers today, three-star wide receivers. Matt, let me start with you. When you get this deep on the list, is there anything in particular that you're looking forward for these guys to stand out to kind of plant your flag on a three-star?
Yeah, I need at least one standout trade that can really hitch my wagon to. I need something, really fast, going to a really great place where they can produce early, super refined. It has to be something where, they really differentiate themselves from all these other players where, once you get into these tier 4 guys, everyone's really the same. There's not much disparity between the talent level. So I got to have something I can, invest in.
David, same question.
I think the process is generally the same for me. I mean, yeah, it's good to have a standout trait, but I'm doing the same thing as I do for everyone else. I'm looking at production. I'm looking at the film, looking at offer lists, stuff like that. It's, a lot of details, trying to understand how, their size profile, their athleticism, pretty much the same process, and go from there.
If you're playing in campus to camp leagues, if you're doing Devy, you're always trying to find value. And these shows in this particular series is designed to help you find that value. But the best value that you can get is campus2can.com. So make sure that if you're not subscribed to the website, you should be. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to do the free stuff, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like the content that we're putting out. And, of course, the podcast feed. Excellent podcasts, including the official Devy Debate, Campus Life, Canton Bound, Chasing the Natty, and in season. I think that's our list. But we've got new content for you every single day, and we're inching closer and closer to March 1st, where we're going to release the freshman and supplemental draft guide for your C2C freshman drafts. All right, gentlemen. Some 3-stars from 2022 that avoided the year 1-0 threshold. A favorite of ours, Chris Bell, who used to go up against Travis Hunter in high school and gave him the business. Burt Emanuel Jr. at Central Michigan. I remember watching his father play. Xavier Thomas. Where is Xavier Thomas?
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. Dylan Bell and Marcarius Squirrel White there at Tennessee. So that's what we're looking for here, is to get some guys who will, show something for us, maybe even in year 1. So we're going to talk about some of these names today. Matt, I'm going to come to you first because you've got 2 names on your list for Mike Gundy's Cowboys. And I'm going to start with Tyke Andrews here. Oklahoma State has had some success at developing the wide receiver position.
Yeah, so Tyke is actually, I'm cheating here a bit because he's actually not a 3-star. He's not ranked by any of these services currently. So he actually didn't get a full ride offer at Oklahoma State until January. He's his head coach right now in high school is Rashawn Woods, former Oklahoma State wide receiver, first-round NFL draft pick. And Tyke really showed out this year, 135 receptions, 1,500 yards, I believe, and 17 touchdowns. And he's a pretty well-rounded player. He's good after the catch. You saw he had a one-handed catch earlier. And, being coached by Rashawn Woods, he's going to be able to get open, and he can show that on tape a good bit. So I think, this is a guy you're going to get in the last round of the drafts, or even if you even draft them all, you're going to get them for free on the waivers at some point. But with the way, how Oklahoma State wide receiver room got depleted in the transfer portal this year, they're really desperate for guys. I think he can come in and be like the Stephon Johnson this year and impact immediately.
And he's playing a little bit of outside, a little bit in the slot. We see him making some plays outside of his frame and running after the catch, so he can do a little bit of everything. The other Oklahoma State wide receiver that you like is Cameron Hurd.
Yeah, so he actually played quarterback in high school all 4 years out of Furr in Houston. As you can see here, a blazer. He almost hits 22 miles per hour. I would argue he's probably one of the more dynamic, non-size adjusted athletes that's going to be coming in playing wide receiver as a freshman this year. And same argument with Tyke. I mean, they need guys in that room, and they need somebody that can produce early. Hurd can definitely get gadget touches if they feel like scheming him in early. He could definitely provide as a returner as well. So I definitely just like the overall ability. He moves extremely well, good after the catch. He's shown off some tape, like on his Twitter, of him doing 7-on-7s playing wide receiver. So he does have some experience there. I'm sure he's going to be woefully, unrefined, but you don't really need to be refined to play in that offense.
We see him playing some quarterback here on the tape. We see him playing some defense, some safety, getting an interception there. He used to play quarterback and defense in high school. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. All right. David, I want to get you in here. Arkansas has a guy in Davion Dozer that you are gravitating towards.
Yeah, he's an interesting player. He's got a really good size to him and length. I think he's around 6'4". He's actually listed at 195 already on Arkansas's website, so he's got good size. He's very physical blocker, you can see there. What I like most about him is probably his yak. He's a really good yak player, just super coordinated. He wins pretty much all jump balls. He's tough at the catch point. And I don't know if he'll play year one or not, but they're kind of struggling, I feel like, in their wide receiver room. So it wouldn't surprise me if he did. He can kind of be moved all around. He plays a little slot, a little outside. I guess the main knock on him, he's not a burner. I think we have him in the low 20 mile per hour range. But definitely a talented player.
What is his height and weight? He's making a lot of catches, above the rim here.
Yeah, actually, he's a super talented basketball. You should see some of his dunks too. I don't know if he made our dunk show or not, but yeah, on Arkansas's website, he's 6'4", 195.
6'4", 195, and this is an Arkansas team that had Trey Knox, obviously Traylon Burks, so they've had some success with some of these bigger wide receivers. Trey Knox obviously playing tight end now. Where at South Carolina, if I remember correctly, somewhere he's transferred. All right, let's go a little bit west, David. I'm going to stick with you here, and let's talk about Jacoby Banks.
So Jacoby Banks is a converted quarterback.
To Houston, I should say. To Houston.
Yeah, to Houston. So he actually ran for like 1,300 yards last year as a quarterback, and he's switched over to receiver this year. I really like him after the catch. He's a really sudden athlete. His top end speed isn't great, but I mean, he's just super bursty. Really good accelerator. He put up 1,200 yards in his first year ever playing receiver, and he comes from the same school that Chris Marshall went to. It was at Texas A&M, transferred to Ole Miss, and same as Devin Achane. So they produce some pretty talented players. And Houston's they have so many. They do have a lot of receivers at Houston right now, but they're actually kind of thin at slot receiver. So hopefully he can get on the field as a slot receiver early in his career.
And, of course, Houston has had some success with wide receivers here recently. They had Marquez Stevenson. Let's not forget him. He was a draft pick to the Buffalo Bills. They've had Nathaniel Dell, who's going to be an NFL draft pick and a Senior Bowl standout. And Matthew Golden Matthew Golden, I think Matthew Golden was a 3. It was Matthew Golden a 3-star or a 4-star who stood out for all of us. Was in the top 10-ish of our freshman rankings last year.
I believe he ended up as a 4-star, but I don't think the services were super high on him.
Yeah. So I mean, this guy could be next there for Dana Holgorsen. Dana Holgerson's offenses have always been a lot of fun, even going back to De'Aaron King. Matt, an offense that has always been fun is Purdue's. And speaking of teams that have had success developing wide receivers, you got David Bell. You've had obviously Rondale Moore. Talk to me a little bit about Ahmad Branch.
Yeah, so here he is another super late find. He didn't have a P5 offer until late January before late signing day. So and there's actually another player that's similar to that as well that I'll be talking about later. He's a super dynamic athlete. I think that's what immediately drew their attention. A really good basketball player. Another guy you should see his dunks. He has incredible hops, near 40-inch vertical. And it shows on tape. He's fast. He's explosive. He's good at catch. He has great ball skills. He was playing pretty low-level high school ball out of Missouri. So that's, part of the reason why he wasn't looked upon as highly. But his head coach used to be on the Purdue staff, so they were able to make that connection and finally get a coach out to see him. And he visited Purdue and immediately committed. So I really like him. I don't think I think they have 3 other wide receivers in this class, but I don't think we have any of the other ones ranked. None of them really appeal to me quite like Branch does, just with his upside alone.
Boiler up in Lafayette, Indiana. I almost said Louisiana, Indiana. That's substitute teacher makes a straight. I should mention, by the way, that they've got me producing the show, clicking all the buttons. This is dangerous. This is dangerous. We don't even know if anything's being recorded right now. Matt, I'm going to stick with you here, and I want to go to Arizona State, and this is why. They've got, of course, Oregon offensive coordinator Kenny Dillingham. They are at Arizona State now for the now fired Herm Edwards, back on an NFL Network and ESPN. Kenny Dillingham led an excellent offense there at Oregon, and obviously Dante Moore was a long-time commit to Oregon before jumping to UCLA. They've got a guy named Corbin Hendricks going there with Coach Dillingham to Arizona State. Talk to me about him.
Yeah, I think he's honestly one of the better route runners in this class. I mean, his releases at the line, his mid-route, DB manipulations, it's all pretty high-end for the class, and I think it's going to lead to him being a pretty deadly down the field and intermediate threat. He has pretty good testing. Some of it I don't quite believe, but if it's close to believable, he should test pretty well. Nothing crazy though. Good size. He's 6'3", 180 on the Arizona State roster. You see, he moves pretty well there. He has pretty good ball skills too. But I think he's pretty ready to go. I think he could make an impact really. I know Arizona State's bringing in, returning some guys. They bring in Troy O'Meary, who could do something this year. So I don't know, if they'll really need him this year. Maybe they can rotate him on the field to get him in a little bit. But I think year 2, he could straight up just start on the outside for them and produce right away.
Kenny Dillingham apparently wants some size. We see Corbin here making, again, some catches outside of his frame, some plays on the ball. An earlier catch there reminded me of the corner route that Josh Downs caught in the end zone in that bowl game his freshman year when it was all rainy and they had to take their gloves off to catch the ball. That's what that play reminded me of. Had to lay out full. I don't. What's the word? What do they say in baseball when you stretch out for the ball? I forgot what it is, but that's what he did. So.
And you're asking I don't watch baseball.
No baseball fans. It's full extension. Full extension is the word is the phrase that I was looking for.
That's not really like a baseball only thing. Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to Dave. I want to go back to East Lansing, which is where I was before I came here to Louisville. And you like a player that they have in going to Michigan State in Isaiah Johnson. I'm assuming Isaiah is how to pronounce his name. What is Sparty getting here? Oh my goodness, you just made a one-handed interception. What do you like in Isaiah Johnson here?
Yeah, you can see the ball skills right there on that first highlight as a cornerback. He's actually listed as a cornerback by all the services. I think On3 has him as an athlete, but Michigan State's going to try him out as a receiver. He's on the website. You can see he's super springy, just jumping routes there. He's very sudden. He's got really good hips. Good after the catch. He's just slippery. He's super slippery. He can change directions real quick. And he has some wiry core strength. Even though he's pretty skinny, he does break a lot of tackles. I think Michigan State did a real good job trying to find. I mean, they got Sam Leavitt, who is like an underrated guy for us, and also Jalen Smith, who's an underrated guy. So they have a pretty good passing core going forward.
I could not do justice to our audio-only audience in describing what it is that we just saw with Isaiah Johnson. This highlight was so good, I'm going to play it again. He starts off with a one-handed interception. You see him lining up at Wildcat quarterback. You see him lining up at the nickel. There are some of these plays remind me of JoJo Earle's highlight coming out of Aledo, Texas there. But a player who it looks like he could even play corner if you wanted him to play corner, is putting his hands on slot wide receivers, catching a screen pass, and making two defenders grab nothing but air before getting to the end zone there, spinning out of a tackle. I'm sorry, Matt. David picked the best highlight so far. So it's 1-0 in my book. David's got you by one. You picked some good players too, Matt. But I like David's pull there.
That's totally fine. I'm a big fan of him as well.
Okay.
And
all right.
Fun fact we didn't bring up: he's actually All-State at wide receiver and corner this year. Pretty rare. First team All-State.
All-State and well, for a while, Clemson, David, had been wide receiver U between Martavius Bryant, DeAndre Hopkins, Hunter Renfrow. I don't know if Hunter Renfrow is making Clemson wide receiver. I like Hunter Renfrow. I think Hunter Renfrow is a really good player. But Cade Klubnik has another one coming in Tyler Brown.
He's got a little Renfrow in him, actually. He is a slot receiver. He's like a super quick, super productive dude. Clemson's an ascending offense now that they hired Garrett Riley. I assume he'll be running something similar to his brother, Lincoln Riley. But yeah, he makes people miss. He's got actually a pretty sturdy body for a smaller guy. So he's a pretty good yak player as well. Strong hands. He showed out pretty well at I think it was Alabama, South Carolina All-Star game. I can't remember which one it was. Pretty good speed as well. I think he had a 10.8 100 meter. So he was a late addition for Clemson. It's a different mold from what they usually. I mean, I guess he's, like a worse version of Antonio Williams. Antonio Williams can play on the outside as well. So you can see the body control in the hands there. He's just a high volume guy.
Making a catch along the sideline, keeping his toe in full extension again. Matt, see that? Full extension again. Clemson has had an issue with recruiting the same types of body types at wide receiver. And so they get Antonio Williams this year and now Tyler Brown, some guys that you can throw the ball to on screens and let them run after the catch. And, we don't have to throw all these balls downfield. We can do some things that are essentially extensions of the running game. And it looks like Tyler Brown could be that type of player, but he also understands stems. I saw that stemming his routes, a very nice post route where he works to the outside leverage before cutting inside. So he understands something about route running. Jackson Harris is going to Stanford, Matt. He has to understand lots of things about lots of things if he is going to Stanford. And as soon as I find his tape, I'm going to play it here. What do you like about Jackson Harris?
Yes, I think he's just a really well-rounded player. As you can see him here, excelling after the catch. He's 6'3", 195. So you don't see a lot of guys, moving that way laterally after the catch. At 6'3", I think that's a relatively rare trait. He was super productive this year. 72 catches, 1,400 yards. We've clocked him at 21.5 miles per hour. So an awesome athlete too. We're really just hoping this Stanford offense can open up a little bit more, and he could become a guy and produce early. Stanford's bringing a few other guys in this class. I don't really like any of them quite nearly as high, so I think he has a pretty high ceiling as well on top of it.
Another name to add, to put a star next to on your watch list as we see what Stanford is going to be over the next couple of years. Stanford is a team that has had some success, but had much success here lately. All right, lastly, Matt, your Daryl Gill, who's going to be with my former camp counselor, Coach Dino Babers at Syracuse. Daryl Gill, what do you like about him?
Yeah, so this is another guy. I'm shooting from deep here, Felix. You got to appreciate it. The third guy here who did not have any P5 offers until January of this year. He is a 93rd percentile athlete. I mean, he has some ridiculous jumping numbers, 10, 800 meter, good straight line speed too. He's a 1,000-yard receiver playing 6A Texas ball on a top 10 team. Somehow didn't get any recognition until now. And he should translate at least into a really good deep threat. I mean, that's kind of how they've liked to play with these big-bodied, long wide receivers, playing down the field, and that hopefully they keep that up with their new offensive coordinator. I believe they were projected to. But he's just a really interesting, explosive, long, deep threat, and I think he could definitely end up being a pretty high-end producer in college.
You can really see that length in his stride. He's a long strider. He gets up to top speed, seems relatively quickly. Do we have I could have blanked when you said it, but do we have a mile per hour or 100-meter dash time for him? Because he looks pretty swift.
10 800 meter.
10 800 meters. So
45. I think 45 or 46 foot triple jumper. Like, we're talking super explosive, like 93rd percentile size adjusted athlete. That should say it all. Really explosive athlete.
And Syracuse has had some success with wide receivers who stretch the field. I'm going to say their names as soon as I get a chance to look it up. One was an undrafted free agent for for the Los Angeles Rams, and I cannot remember his name.
Was he the big one, the 1 year wonder?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm blanking on his name too. I know you're talking about. He was like 6'4", 220, ran like a 4.4, but he sucked. Head. He was awful.
Yeah. So as soon as I look that up, I'm going to come back to it.
No.
Okay. We've got a couple of smarty pants wide receivers on this list. One guy going to Stanford, and one in London Humphreys, David, who's going to Vanderbilt. And London. London sounds like a smart name. Is he any good, David?
I hope so, because I'm going to tout him right now. He's a really bursty player. He has really good genetics, actually. His dad was a All-American pole vaulter at Auburn, and his mom was a All-American in the decathlon at South Carolina. So he's got real good. I'm a big genetics guy. He can box jump 63 inches. He's got a 23.7 long jump, 10.7 100-meter. He actually broke the regional 200-meter record that was previously held by Jalen Ramsey at he had 21.73. So he's got burst, he's got speed. He's real tough, I feel like, at the catch point and throughout the route. He will definitely, like, if a guy tries to push him off his route, he's not gonna give an inch. That's one thing I definitely like about him. He's gonna be an outside guy, like he's 6'3", 190. A little bit of special teams there. But Vanderbilt, obviously not the most exciting offense, but they're just really thin at receiver. They found Jaden McGowan last year. He kind of plays like 50-50 inside outside, but they could really use a guy on the outside. So he could probably work his way into like a wide receiver 1 at Vanderbilt. And if you can prove yourself in the SEC, like that goes a long way for potentially the NFL draft.
And Vanderbilt, in the midst of a quarterback transition, I know Mike Wright was there, and Mike Wright has since transferred. So we have to see how that shakes out. I don't know who their starter is off the top of my head. Tristan Jackson is the name that I was looking for.
I was thinking of Jamal Custis.
Okay.
So, very different players.
Tristan Jackson. All right. Your last one, David, going to Southern Mississippi, Javion Butler.
Yeah, not an exciting landing spot. They don't really pass the ball a whole lot. But I mean, I don't know. The services do not like this. They don't like him. He didn't really get that many offers. I think he's a Power 5 guy, honestly. I do. He's like this 6'5", 207. He hits 21.9 miles per hour. He even plays cornerback. Like I think he's fluid, good ball skills. He's going to win pretty much all these jump balls. And you can see he lands on his feet. So he's got good balance. And he's actually a pretty good yak guy. Like he's not just one of these guys that he just jumps up, gets it, falls over. Like there is some athleticism to him. And he actually, Matt and I were watching him in 1v1s in the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star game. He was winning pretty much every rep. He looked better than the other guys, like Aiden Williams. I think he's headed to Mississippi. I thought he looked better than he did. So I feel like he's underrated. He probably won't put up a ton of stats at Southern Miss, but the hope is that he kind of shows out and potentially transfers up.
Yeah, the first play on this highlight film is I think it was a short drag. I'm not sure, but the entire defense had the angle on him, and he has enough speed to even beat players when you have the angle on him. So that is 21.9. When you're approaching 22 miles per, as a matter of fact, I was going to say when I was watching that is some of his plays look like Tamarian Terry's high school highlight tape, because Tamarian Terry was also, a 6 foot guy with a lot of length and some speed. So that's that, I'm not making the comp here, but that's what he looked like to me. So is that everyone? Let's just recap these names here. You guys are going to have to help me because as I was going to the show here, I deleted the name so that I wouldn't mess up with where I was going. So here are, let's see if I can just undo this here. We're going to produce on the fly. All right. So Matt, you recommended Jackson Harris at Stanford, Corbin Hendricks at Arizona State, Ahmad Branch at Purdue. For what it's worth, I think that Alan True last week mentioned Ahmad Branch also. Daryl Gill at Syracuse, Tyke Andrews and Cameron Hurd, both headed to Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. David, you recommended Jacoby Banks, headed to Houston. London Humphreys at Vanderbilt. Isaiah Johnson, to me, stole the show today. I'm sorry, Matt. Isaiah Johnson stole the show going to Michigan State.
I'm very much not offended. It's okay.
Okay. Tyler Brown at Clemson and Javion Butler at Southern Mississippi, gentlemen. That's the list. Any final thoughts here?
Two guys that we decided just to omit, Demetrius Bell and Caden Lee. I figured they're both pretty big names now. They're not really sleepers. They should be 4 stars, but they're just not for some reason. But no, that's pretty much it. I don't have anything else to say.
David, how did I do as a substitute teacher?
A+. Did a great job. Come back again.
How does Alfred close the show? I don't remember how Alfred closed the show. Listen, I'll just close it the way I do Debbie Debate. For Matt, for David. This has been The Official. Good night and good luck.